and welcome to episode 3 of the Clitical Thinking Podcast, The Normal Period.
We're your hosts, Georgie
and Amy.
And today we are talking all things menstrual health. So when it comes to our period, we are told to accept the painful cramps and the heavy bleeding and the spotting before and after your period. But no, these symptoms aren't always normal. So we're going to talk about a few conditions that might be affecting your periods because we want to encourage women to advocate for themselves when it comes to doctors, because more often than not, we know when something is up with our bodies, and also why our bodies and symptoms are so often misunderstood.
So to find this out, it's really important to understand that for most of Western history, women, and more specifically the female body, has been conceptualized on the basis of masculine parameters. These have defined our bodies and they are not relative to the normal standards for women, the female body, or female sexuality, but rather normative to the standard for men, his body and his sexuality.
The male body has always been seen as the default body medically. Therefore, our bodies are often excluded from medical research and discourse.
In fact, most Western biomedical research on the female body has been conducted in order to uncover false truths about our bodies and therefore our inferiority. Studies have too often been used to keep our bodies seen as abnormal and deviant. This is especially true when it comes to menstruation, because throughout history this has been seen as a source of evil or a weakness.
As a result of women's bodies often being understudied, misunderstood and excluded from research historically, a lack of knowledge and bias permeate into modern medicine. For women are still underrepresented in biomedical studies. This is seen when we literally just look at a cardiovascular disease study, for example, conducted in 2021, literally a few years ago.
4 years ago, guys.
Where only 38% of the participants were female, when it should be 50-50, right?
It should be 50-50. Or they should do separate studies
Definitely.
for men and women. But we also so often see health issues that affect women treated as mental, psychosomatic, or, of course, hormonal, with women being 66% more likely to receive a misdiagnosis or to just not receive a diagnosis at all in comparison to men, and for the same conditions. In fact, 84% of women state that they have not felt heard by doctors when going to them and trying to explain their symptoms.
A broader medical gaslighting survey attempts to summarise 70% of women with chronic health issues have experienced some sort of medical gaslighting. And this overall perpetuates the idea that women's bodies are emotionally unreliable sources of evidence, which is crazy because we literally make up 50% of the population.
And of course, the menstrual cycle is still a massive medical blind spot. Research on the menstrual cycle effects on physical and mental health remains underfunded, and menstruation is often treated as a niche or optional area of study for medical students. Reproductive and hormone health issues are siloed into gynecology rather than integrated into general medicine, which is absolutely crazy because, as you say, we are 50% of the population. And this just reinforces the notion that the female body is the other.
So in order to try and battle these medical injustices, we want to advocate for women to stand up for themselves and in medical settings especially, and discuss some of our own experiences with medical gaslighting, endometriosis and PCOS. So firstly, I thought we'd talk about endometriosis because it's severely underfunded and understudied, leading the average wait time to be 8 to 10 years.
Which is absolutely crazy because that is 8 to 10 years of pain, misdiagnoses, mental exhaustion.
And just not knowing what's going on in your body.
And also if you're in a place where there's not free healthcare, or if you're going privately, that's so much money that you have to put into just getting a diagnosis for a condition that can be possibly life-ruining. So what's really interesting about endometriosis and it being understudied is that there was actually a case control study in 2013 which was titled The Attractiveness of Women with Rectovaginal Endometriosis.
What the hell?
Which is crazy.
The attractiveness.
We are being objectified even in the medical world, which is crazy. And then to top it off, a qualitative study which investigated the effect of endometriosis on the male partner was also conducted.
That's insane. Why didn't you just do a study on the condition?
On the condition itself, especially as already no one knows much about it. Doctors themselves even say, look, we don't know much about this condition because we haven't really studied it. And the worst thing is that the only way of diagnosing endometriosis is very invasive. You have to get a laparoscopy, which to then put money and funding into studying the attractiveness of women with endometriosis or the effects on the male partners, rather than new ways of searching for it in the female body, which aren't to do with having a literal operation, is just crazy to me.
And the fact that it affects 1 in 10 women as well.
But what is endometriosis? So endometriosis is a condition where a tissue similar to that of the lining of the womb grows in other places. For example, on the ovary, the fallopian tube, the outside of the uterus, the rectum, the bladder. And it's even been found on the diaphragm, which is somewhere where you wouldn't expect
it's so far away.
Tissue to
so far away from
and I think
the
that's,
uterus.
Again, that is not very commonly known. The tissue that grows on these areas then bleeds like a period would bleed, but obviously has nowhere to go. And this can cause scar tissue on your organs, which ultimately can lead to them sticking together. So your bladder, your rectum, your ovaries, they can stick. And this obviously causes a lot of pain for the sufferer. And it's just not great, is it?
It's not great, is it, when your organs are sticking together?
No. These symptoms are heavy periods and very painful periods. Some women even report feeling barbed wire around their uterus. They report going to the emergency room, A&E, because of the pain, and they just don't know what's going on. And the people are literally bent over in pain from this condition. Obviously then, like I said, a heavy period, pain during sex, which is often suprapubic, pain when weeing and pooing, because of course this condition can affect the rectum and the bladder as well. Shooting pains up the bum are a common symptom.
The spasms.
Spasms, and also bloating and gastrointestinal issues. So diarrhea or constipation are often very common symptoms as well.
But they're often overlooked, I would say.
100%, because a lot of the time people look at diarrhea or constipation as a result of something else that isn't necessarily to do with your reproductive system.
Like IBS, for example.
IBS. And so I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my own story regarding endometriosis. So I would like to clarify, I am not diagnosed with endometriosis. However, I'm currently undergoing quite a lot of tests. I had an MRI last week to try and basically look to see if any of my organs are stuck together. I'm booked in for a laparoscopy in the new year, which is nerve-wracking.
And it's the only way to
get a full diagnosis, because
endometriosis.
My MRI, which I've just had done, that could come back and say that none of my organs are sticking together. However, I've been told that that still doesn't mean that I don't have endometriosis, because the only way to 100% find out is through the laparoscopy.
To go in.
Which is terrifying, because there's always a risk when going in for a surgery, going under the knife, there's always that risk with general anaesthetic. There's risks of infection, obviously, with the wounds as well.
I also feel like that is another reason why women are scared to go and get themselves looked at, because at the root cause of it all, the only way is to go in, and it's like, I can't just give up, a whole week of my life to go and have a laparoscopy or, take the time off work. Whereas when you're in that much pain and you can't work, it's like,
it's like a never-ending cycle.
You can't win, basically.
It's terrible. So I've actually had really painful periods since I was about 16. I'm 22 now. Actually, I'd probably say 15. I was probably younger. Yeah. Always had really painful periods, really heavy periods. My periods can last me 10 days. And they're heavy. They're not light. I will be bleeding through a tampon every 2 hours from how much I'm bleeding. Yeah. And my period doesn't really slow down until about the 6th or 7th day. She's a heavy flow, should we say. It's
quite difficult to manage then.
It can be difficult to manage, and also expensive, because you're buying so many tampons, so many pads and everything. So I've been struggling with this really terrible period pain and these really heavy periods. And as I started to get older, I realised, when I have sex, I'm in a lot of pain. It feels for me like I'm getting an ice pick stabbed into my abdomen. which is obviously not fun. I also get pain when I wee, I get pain when I poo, which again is this almost like stabbing, suprapubic, abdominal pain. I'm also always bloated, which actually was one of the first things that led me to go and see a doctor, was my bloating, because it was getting so bad. I was literally feeling like I was going to throw up. And I went and I was told, oh, you've got IBS.
Of course they'd say that, yeah.
Of course. And they actually then said to me, oh, have a laxative. And I said, but I'm not really constipated.
Necessarily, yeah.
It's just bloating and pain. And they said, no, you need a laxative. I'm allergic to dairy. And they gave me a laxative made of milk.
Oh my gosh.
Which
Are you
is
being
just
serious?
Very neglectful.
Just like luckily, the lack of attention to detail, really.
Luckily, I checked myself, and also luckily I'm not anaphylactic, because that could have been really terrible. But yeah, so I was told I had IBS, but I knew I didn't, because I also knew that I had all of these other symptoms, which when I went to try and take all my symptoms as one to the doctor, they said, these aren't related. These are too many things. You're going to need to come back and book another appointment if you want to discuss that. So after I got told I had IBS, I ended up going to my doctor at university, and they did an exam of me and also a blood test, which was really, really scary. But they said to me that it could possibly be ovarian cancer, although they did say that it was uncommon in someone my age. They did want to test me for it anyway. And also that is something I just quickly want to say. If you feel like you have symptoms for something, do not think, oh, I'm too young for that, because it can still affect you, and getting tested for these things is so important to catch in time. If you are suspicious that you might have cancer, catch it quick and don't be scared.
The best thing to do is always to have transparency. So if you're scared, I might have this, I have all the symptoms for this, the best way to know if you have it is to know, like to have the transparency
and that's
and have
so
the
scary,
test done.
but please just go for it. Back to the endometriosis. I then was booked in for an ultrasound, and it was transvaginal and abdominal, and they said they didn't find anything. They were looking for ovarian cysts, but they did find fluid, which suggested inflammation essentially. I then was told nothing was wrong, however, and that it was definitely just IBS, but I knew something was wrong. And another reason why I believed something might have been wrong was because my symptoms were cyclical. So they were coming around the time of my period, not continuously all month round. But yeah, so then I went to a private GP, which is a massive privilege, obviously, but so many women sadly can't afford private healthcare. So I really understand that's such a privilege to be able to do that. And luckily for me, it was a last resort really, because it had been so long, and luckily I was lucky enough to have the means to do so. And that's when I was told that it could possibly be endometriosis. This is when I got told to book in an MRI, I had a gynecology referral, I had, and then obviously now I'm getting the laparoscopy. But yeah, so that is scary, but hopefully, part of me hopes they'll find something, because I'll know what's wrong. But also, if they don't find anything, then that's kind of good, because I don't really want to have endometriosis, but I do want to know what's going on.
Yeah, and how you can treat it.
It's so hard, it's so twisted, because you don't want a lifelong condition. You don't want a condition where you're going to have constant surgeries, because that's terrible. But also, when you're so confused with what's going on in your own body and you're not being listened to, you kind of just want to find out. Yeah, because otherwise you think, well, where do I turn now?
And that's why you just need to keep advocating for yourselves, ladies.
100%.
Like, you never know what you have until you know, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
And the sooner you know, the sooner you can treat it.
And the sooner you can have peace of mind, and also realise that you're not crazy, because honestly, doctors make us feel like we're insane. They make us feel like we shouldn't be there, that we're wasting their time a lot of the time.
Oh, it's just a bad period. Here, take the pill.
Like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
And sometimes the pill can aggravate symptoms as well.
Definitely.
It just makes you feel worse. So before you just jump straight to, I'll go on the pill,
try and look at other options.
Get to the root of the cause.
And don't always trust that the pill is the best solution, because in some cases it can help with things, but for some people it doesn't suit their body, and that's a whole other topic. But just don't assume that the pill is the best option because that's what you've been told. So next we're going to be talking about PCOS and ovarian cysts.
I actually have my own personal experience with PCOS as I have it.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard both terms, ovarian cyst and PCOS, talked about in the same conversations. Like they're the same thing, but actually they're very, very different.
It's very misunderstood, I think, as well, that they are known as the same thing when, as Georgie says, they're very different.
They're different conditions.
So an ovarian cyst is essentially a fluid-filled sac which forms on your ovaries. They're actually really common. I know a lot of people who have suffered with ovarian cysts, my mum being one. They are so common, which really raises the question, why
aren't they researched?
Are they not researched as much as they should be? So they usually happen during your menstrual cycle. For example, when an egg follicle doesn't release properly or doesn't dissolve properly or the way it should. Most cysts, however, are totally benign, and they sometimes don't even cause symptoms and don't always have to be treated or removed. But of course, sometimes a cyst can get bigger, and this can cause pain. It can cause bloating, stabbing pains. And then obviously there is always the risk with an ovarian cyst that it can rupture. And when a cyst ruptures, it's known to be absolutely
painful.
Excruciating. My mum has spoken to me about this. She said how painful, like she's literally bent over in pain, like doubled over,
and it often ends
from the pain.
In a trip to the A&E.
And then you do have to go and get it cleared up, essentially surgically. So they can be really painful if they do cause you symptoms. But having an ovarian cyst does not mean that you have PCOS, although people with PCOS do get cysts, but they are slightly different.
So what is PCOS? PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome. PCOS is a hormonal disorder, actually. It's not just a structural one. So it's caused by an imbalance of hormones, especially higher levels of androgens, which are the male hormones. So like testosterone. For example. So everyone kind of produces them as is to a degree, but people with PCOS just produce more of the androgens than normal. People with PCOS might have irregular or absent periods. I have that. Acne, extra hair growth in the face or body, thinning hair on the scalp, which is crazy. Like, I'm growing a beard, but like my hair's falling out of my head.
Just in the wrong places.
It's great. It's really, really great.
So unfortunate.
And also difficulty with fertility. So this condition also coarises with insulin resistance. So that can affect metabolism. Therefore, the weight gain and the weight management can just be really tricky and really, really difficult. So it's important to remember that PCOS can affect people of all body types. So just because you're really, really thin doesn't mean that you don't have PCOS, or just because you're obese also doesn't mean that you don't have PCOS. It is a hormonal disorder rather than just cysts on the ovaries. Yeah. So when it comes to my personal experience with PCOS, as I said in previous episodes, I've always grown thick black hair all over my body. So when I started growing more of that hair, I never really used that as a flag to think, oh, I might have PCOS, because I've always
thought she was a hairy girl.
Just a hairy girl, do you know what I mean? Like, so that was definitely a thing. Like, I suddenly started growing in a bit of a beard.
Little bit of a moustache.
Little bit of a moustache and a beard, but I thought, that's just normal. When it came to like a sudden gaining of weight, I thought, oh, I've just been eating badly.
Yeah.
Right. And then when it came to my skin, because I get really, really bad hormonal cystic acne, which cannot be helped, unfortunately. The only way that it has helped with my acne is going on the pill. And then that's just a whole nother thing, isn't it, in itself, because I've tried like 6 or 7 pills and none of them have really worked for me. They either cleared up my acne but then gave me terrible mood swings. So it's just really, really difficult finding a pill that works for you.
Yeah.
Another way that I was told to help with my weight was to cut out carbs. So I had a sudden gain of weight within the course of a year. I gained like, I don't even know if I want to say, but it was over 10 kilos within a year when nothing in my diet changed, like none of my activity levels changed. So I went to the doctor, and also I started missing periods.
Yeah,
not a good sign. So I started missing my periods, and then obviously I'm thinking, am I pregnant?
Is she pregnant?
Am I pregnant? So I'm taking all these like pregnancy tests. I'm growing in a full beard now. I'm having acne. I'm like, what is happening to me? And it kind of, when you get to the age of like early 20s, like 19 to 25, that's when PCOS symptoms really ramp up. Some people might say that it's to do with the second puberty, but I won't touch on that. But yeah, so I'm basically right in the age at this point. This was like a couple of years ago, right in the age where if I have PCOS, it should start showing now. So I'm going to the doctors and I'm saying, I haven't had a period in 3 months. I haven't had a period in 4 months. And then suddenly I'd get a period. It might last for a couple of days, go away. And then a week later, I might have an 8-day long period. I'm like, something isn't right here. And I just knew it. Like, all of these symptoms are coming in, and I really advocated for myself, and it took them 2 years to finally diagnose me through the NHS with PCOS. I was having blood tests done every couple of months. There was always something flagging up in my blood tests, and it wasn't necessarily all the time testosterone. Sometimes it was other hormones as well that were getting flagged up. So I think that's why it took them so long to diagnose me as well, because first of all, they just think, oh, it's a bad period, get over it, right?
So commonly said.
Yeah, and they just give me the pill, and I'm like, this isn't actually helping me.
Help.
No. And so I'm having all these blood tests done over and over and over again. And they finally said to me, you know what? Yeah, your testosterone's high enough now that we can diagnose you with PCOS. But it took my testosterone to be like off the charts for them to do that, which is crazy because I knew in my body that something wasn't right.
Like we say,
You always know when something's not right in your body. So for the fact the random weight gain, the acne, which is strictly hormonal, like it wasn't just like clogged pores or like not washing my face, like it is deep in the skin. Nothing was helping it, no spot treatments, nothing. Irregular hair growth and my hair falling out. So I thought, these are all symptoms of stress as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like weight gain, hair falling out, like mood swings, like these are all things to do with stress as well. So it was always like, oh, you're too stressed, like just take some more panic attack medication. I'm like, no, like stop dosing me up.
I don't want to just be drugged.
You're literally drugging me and not coming to the root of cause of the problem. So I'm really grateful now that I have a diagnosis and I know how to manage it. One way that you can manage PCOS is to do a no carb or very, very low carb diet. I did try that for a few months, but I just found that it didn't make me a very nice person because food really affects my mood. So I have reduced...
And your energy levels, of course.
Definitely.
Because carbs fuel us. They give us so much energy.
Yeah, so I would say you can go down like more of a holistic route and do the food route, which I've done before, and it did work, to be fair. It did alleviate some of the symptoms, but it didn't solve the problem. Like I have got a hormone imbalance and I'm unfortunately going to have that for the rest of my life. The only way that that can be controlled is with hormone medication. So I have been on and off hormone medication for about a year now. And I'm just still trying to find the right pill or the right balance of like hormones that work for me.
Yeah.
So I'm still in the process of getting a handle on it. My hair is falling out by the clump.
By the clump.
By the clump. And I've only just been able, in the last 6 months or so, been able to control my weight, which was extremely affected by PCOS. But then also with the weight gain and all these other symptoms, you're feeling the acne, the weight gain, the hair loss, all of these symptoms, they can really, really affect your mood as well because of your appearance, and you're not feeling like yourself, you're not looking like yourself. That's going to affect how you feel as well. So then
your
obviously
self-esteem, your mental health.
Exactly. So this is why I really, really want people to be knowledge of all of the symptoms and all of the different conditions that you could have, because just knowing that I have PCOS and I can kind of put that hair loss down to the PCOS, or I can get a handle on my weight by doing a slightly lower carb diet, all of these things just give me a bit of peace of mind that I'm not falling apart. There's a reason for all of this.
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
Thank
you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's my story with PCOS, and I just really want everybody to know about
the condition.
Yeah. Also, throughout this whole ordeal of trying to get diagnosed by PCOS, I actually went to get an internal
transvaginal
ultrasound, and I remember she was showing me on the screen. So this is your ovary, this is your right ovary, and I'm like, oh, it's so cute. And she goes, actually, it's not cute. It's got about 17 cysts on it.
It's not cute.
That I can see, like very small micro cysts and things like that. And I was just like, oh wow, okay. And then actually the lady from that department was like, you seriously need to look into getting diagnosed, because she basically told me that I have it. And then she was like, you need to go into an NHS doctor and you just need to keep booking appointments and keep on top of it, because the women doctors are advocating for us, but unfortunately, like, we need to also advocate for ourselves, because there's just not enough knowledge on this.
No.
So to sum it up, ovarian cysts are often a one-off short-term related to ovulation, and PCOS is a long-term hormonal and metabolic condition that can cause multiple follicles to build up in the ovaries, but it's not caused by having cysts.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Clitical Thinking Podcast, The Normal Period. Our objective for this video really was to spread and raise awareness, and also just to encourage women to advocate for themselves in a medical setting.
All of our sources can be found in the description box below, as well as some helpful articles, just to kind of help you guys figure out what could be going wrong with your body. Because as we said before, you always know when something isn't right for your body. So you really need to be advocating for yourselves in these medical settings, ladies. We will be back here every Monday on Spotify and YouTube. We can't wait to see you there.